Let's go.
Okay.
Who was the Oscar of 10 years ago? What was your first impression when you met me?
I was very impressed. The first time I met Oscar, I saw him presenting at like a startup sort of competition in Accelerator. It was pretty impressive. I actually challenged him, but you probably don't remember this. You were on the stage and I said, you're talking about the partners being in the app, and I said, that's going to be quite complex in the beginning because it can take a lot of time in sales. And you surprised me because you actually said, yeah, that's a good point. Normally when you're on stage, especially when you're very young, you try and defend your ideas independently of whether you thought about them, and you quickly came out, oh, that's a good idea. And I was like quite surprised by that answer. And then we met afterwards.
So I was a student. I was graduating from aerospace engineering. And I remember when I met Sacha, I had two plans. Plan A was building Glovo. Plan B was going to a master's degree. And I actually got accepted to a master's degree. And I told Sacha, like, hey, I was accepted.
No, so I have a question. So when we met for me to invest, and then I said, oh no, actually I want, I was having a similar idea. I want to join with you. What did you do? Did you call somebody and find out about me or what? I can't, that sequence I never know, because you said, oh, you were a bit shocked. And then 3 weeks later you said yes or something like that. And I wanted to know what happened in those 3 weeks. You must have checked out who the hell was Sacha or something.
Yeah, I did references.
Okay, good. Yeah,
I did references.
Okay.
And people said that Sacha was a very fair person, which I was surprised with the
answer.
Yeah, I mean, that's good. The business idea came out of the US. I was studying in Atlanta and I saw how Uber launched in Atlanta, Uber taxis, Uber rides. And I was so impressed by the impact, the growth of a platform, connecting riders and customers. And the first idea was, well, how can we replicate that for moving things? The name probably came also influenced by my aerospace background. Glovo is a balloon in Spanish, so I imagined like a balloon moving from a point A to point B.
In Barcelona, I was involved with the sharing economy, which was everything around, it doesn't exist now, but it was a name they gave to Airbnb, Ubers. And one guy came up to me and said, we should do a taxi service with motorbikes. So I looked at the regulation and I said, that's going to be impossible in Europe. But then we thought of the motorbikes and delivering things and moving things around the city. So still Uber is a reference in the US.
How did we meet? Yeah, we met in Connector. Connector was an accelerator set up by Carlos Blanco in Barcelona. It was a place where people like me went to start businesses and access the network that they had. So Sacha was part of that network and I presented the idea, and that's how the story started.
You started a fundraise very quickly. You came to see me as an investor. I think it was about a 45-minute meeting, the first one. I was super impressed the way you were thinking big already. In those days, remember this was Spain, Barcelona 10 years ago, and there wasn't the same ambition then. And I think, Oscar being super ambitious, thinking big, I think just coming back from the US as well gives you that mindset. And I thought he was very calm and mature, somebody so, 22 years old.
You're looking really young here.
So are you, man.
What is this? It's super creepy.
Yeah.
How does Oscar complement Sacha and vice versa? I mean, the first thing was the experience. So when I was starting, I was a recent grad, so I knew zero about a legal contract, about an investor, about how to do media, how to build products. And yes, I think I can learn fast, but having Sacha next to me always, it brought like a lot of years of experience. And that's the first thing. And the second thing I would say is, I think I gained a lot of ambition throughout the journey, but not at the beginning. At the beginning, I was so happy just being an entrepreneur. It was kind of a dream. Having a small company operating in Barcelona was already a dream. It was already like an end goal almost. And Sacha, I would say for the first 3 years, it was really pushing the ambition really high. He was like, hey, like this can actually become an international leader company, which back then I was like, well, maybe there's a small chance, but I don't think it's going to happen. And Sacha truly believed in it. And then I realized that it was a real chance.
Yeah, I think the journey has been different phases, right? So I think Oscar just covered the first 3 years were probably very different. We move into a different phase. We also have different team members, so more senior people. The last part, I think, it's a bit of a sounding board. Sometimes there's a doubt, and I think we're very different people. We come from different places. Emotional intelligence is very different, which I think is great. Mm-hmm. I think that's very complementary. And for me, it's super useful. Just, hey, what do you think of this? And I know he's coming from an angle which is thinking global always first, not individual.
And then where we complement the most is in global parties, where I'm the boring guy. Drinking at the bar, and he's the party animal.
Yeah, I force myself, just because obviously I want to try and compliment Oscar.
How did this moment feel 10 years ago?
Ha llegado el momento. Vamos a publicar la aplicación, primera versión. Cuenta atrás de 5, ¿no? Venga. Va. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. ¡Bien! ¡Bravo! Felicidades, chicos.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah, amazing.
You were already, I mean, maybe you were still not full-time.
I think I was. I don't know where I was that moment.
Yeah,
but I was
you
definitely
were not in
yeah.
the office.
I think it was not so much this moment, because maybe I've seen that a few times of the first launch or something, you know, website. But actually, the speed it got traction. So we weren't doing any marketing. I mean, we're just doing a few emails to friends and families and social media, and we did some good press coverage. But it got like traction, but not massive traction, because you didn't go for 2,000 orders from day one. But it was growing every day, literally, and people were complimenting us consistently of wow, it's a great idea. And that, I think it was pretty much 2 or 3 months in that I just felt there was some magic. And it's super early. I mean, we haven't got to 50 orders a day yet. But then you'd say to people when we got to 50 orders a day, literally months into the business, that they were like, wow, 50 orders already. It's unbelievable. Mm-hmm. People were shocked, right? And now we're doing millions. But I just remember thinking, wow, this is something magic here.
Yeah, so this was the happy sound in the early days. This is when every time we got an order, if you had the Rider app, which everybody had in the office, we got this notification. And it was a very happy moment because we got very few orders at the beginning. It was like maybe 3, 4, 10, like in the best days. I remember our first big day was St. George, where maybe we delivered, I think it was like 60.
Yeah.
And it was crazy. It was crazy. Like all the team was out during the entire day delivering roses and books. This sound was amazing. I don't know who chose it. I think it was Dimitri, our first CTO.
I think we did a beauty contest for sounds. I remember those different sounds, yeah. We wanted something that was alert, so there was some softer sounds, but we're thinking the courier's out on the road with his mobile hooked to his bicycle, and we wanted something that was alert. I remember we did it sort of like a beauty contest for that. And there's another funny thing, we were in Connector still, so we're in Accelerator. And I can't remember, there's like 8 or 9 startups there, right? Normally you start with 4 or 5 people. But we grew quite quickly, and we've taken more and more space of this small accelerator. And then we had this massive desk, do you remember? And like there's now 10 of us, and all the phones were going off in every order. It was bothering the whole thing. And I think we agreed we'll switch them off when there's 50 orders a day or something like that.
Yeah.
But it was crazy times.
So the picture of McDonald's, this was a very big day. Very big day because it was a huge inflection point when we convinced McDonald's to give us the exclusivity in Spain. We were the first company to break the global exclusivity they had with Uber Eats. McDonald's decided to launch delivery worldwide with Uber Eats. And I think we were so persistent to McDonald's of Spain that they allowed us to test it and gave us the test in Spain. This is the day we went with our head of legal, our head of marketing, Alex, Marita, Carlas, head of product, Arnau, to plan the rollout. And there was so much excitement. There was also so much uncertainty. We were expecting a massive tsunami of orders, which it happened. And for us, it was a make it or break it moment. If we didn't sign that deal, the company would be gone for sure because we would have lost. But if we didn't deliver, we would also be screwed. Very, very happy day. It was a super big inflection point.
Looking back, it's probably one of the 1 or 2, maybe 3 moments in Glovo that made us. And then another indirect effect of this is the Italian GM of McDonald's saw how well we were working in Spain and also signed with us. So it had a knock-on effect to Italy, which was obviously our second market, also helped us there. So yeah, amazing.
What are some of the most important lessons we have learned?
I think keep calm. There's every day, you're actually pretty good at this, that we have like some major crisis, could be anything. And there's still 10 other things that we need to do during the day which have nothing to do with that crisis, and how just to continue focusing on getting stuff done independently if you have issues. Sometimes so many people just focus on the crisis and forget everything else. But actually, I'm a firm believer, it's never as bad as it seems. You can find a solution, you can work at it. But you still have to focus on the other 9 things that you have that day that are not on a crisis. So I think it's keep calm.
Yeah, I think nothing is as bad as it looks
and
as good as it looks. So I think calmness is a superpower.
I think culture, I think we've been very good at it compared to some of the other companies that I've been with before and everything. And they've grown to huge sizes. But we've been very good on the values of maintaining them. But there was a time where I think we let them slip a little bit and then we adjusted. I think you need to keep firm to your values, and people need to adapt to those. A lot of companies try to adapt to the team more than the team to the value. At the end of the day, talk about culture and values.
I think probably the value that connected us at the beginning was humbleness. It was something that I've always been a fan of it, personally, professionally, and I saw Sacha also as a very humble, very always learning mentality, even though he had 25 years of experience. So that I liked a lot. Even more important when you become a platform like Glovo, which it's so big, everybody uses it, and that it's really important to keep insisting in this value, so that everyone in the team insists on staying humble, because many people can feel that we've already made it, we've already succeeded, and the reality is that we're still so small, there's still so many things to crack, and there's so many things we do bad, and that's always going to be like this in 10 years, in 20, in 30. So I think for me, I'm a big fan of high bar, of gas, of ownership, going fast, being in the details, but I think my favorite is humbleness.
Yeah, funny story. I mean, pretty much these values have existed more or less from day one. We've improved the explanation of them. Sometimes, when you have a value like gas, people could malinterpret it. It means, working 20 hours a day, and it means a lot more than that. It means actually a lot less than that as well. We've adjusted the way we explain them, but basically they more or less haven't changed in 10 years. And I think it was like 3 or 4 years into Glovo. We hadn't talked about this, and I asked him, what's your favorite value? And I always thought his would be like gas, ownership, and he said, no, stay humble, and which is definitely mine, without doubt. I think you have to work hard and you have to own your shit. I think smart people who are humble are always learning, Self-doubt is very good, like question yourself. You need to surround yourself with people who don't question yourself as well, who need to be very decisive, but I think humble with smart people is a superpower.
Si tuviera que describir los siguientes 5 años de Glovo con una palabra, es crecimiento. Ahora estamos en un momento que los pilares ya están bien definidos a nivel talento del equipo, servicios industrial, la tecnología, la logística, todo empieza a funcionar. Ya es momento de invertir en crecer más.
Yeah, I think the first 2 years of those next 5 years were still growth. I think the last 3 years it's been much more about doubling down on the markets where we are, improving the operations, focusing on excellence, profitability, of course. The first 7 years were pretty much about growth. We were focused on, I think, but also investors at that time were asking for that.
Yeah, I think we have learned to grow and with healthy margins. But definitely the last 5 years we've seen so much growth. And it's the power of once you start delivering a good service, people repeat, and that's the best source of growth. I think that's what we're seeing still today.
Okay, well, I'll jump in. I think there's going to be a massive transformation in retail digitalization. The stores that we know in our cities and towns, and that's just small stores, SMEs, small businesses, but also chains. The way we interact with those is going to be radically different in 10 years. I think there's 2 types of buying. There's things you need and things you want. And there's more the exploration and the fun. And I think retail covers both of those. And I think Glovo is a massive, massive ally for that. I mean, literally digitalizing them, helping visibility of all those products to consumers in the city and getting them to them in literally, 20, 30 minutes immediately. We're going to be part of that. We call it quick commerce, but I really think that's going to be huge, and it's going to be much more bigger than the rest. It's going to be much larger than the restaurant industry and the digital restaurant industry. It's huge. I think consumers, once that happens, it's going to be, once it starts to become normalization, it's just going to grow incredibly quickly.
Yeah, I think all commerce online will move to super fast delivery, and Glovo will become the main platform for all commerce. And that's why we still strongly believe that restaurant was our step 1, and it's a step 1 into a world of commerce that is a lot bigger. So I think for sure next 10 years that's what it's going to really materialize.
Restaurants were to Glovo what books were to Amazon. Somebody said that a few years ago.
Esto de que un e-commerce te puede entregar el producto en 48 horas, para nosotros es del pasado. El usuario es cada vez más exigente y cada vez lo quiere ahora mismo. No lo quiere mañana, sino lo quiere en una hora o lo quiere inmediatamente. Luego lo que hace es permite ir a las tiendas donde tú quieras y te lo traemos sin tener que desplazarte y además a más o menos el mismo precio.
Yeah.
8 years ago.
That was 8 years well. So yeah, I think our ex-chairman Neil said this quite well, which is a very simplistic way of seeing future. I quite liked it. He said, look, if Glovo's more or less the same price that you crossing the city, queuing up, paying, and then going back home, then why wouldn't you use Glovo, right? And I think that's a very simplistic way, but I like it. When you know what you want, and I can get on, in my case, my bicycle and go to a big store in Barcelona and buy something, I can do that. But if I know what I want and Glovo's more or less the same price, I mean, why would I get up and do that? In a lot of cases, not every single case. And I think that's a simplistic way and I really believe that. And I also think that e-commerce, the big e-commerce players are going to try to adapt to that, and I think it's going to be difficult for them. The same way they're so big now that the bigger you are, the more difficult it is to adjust your business model, and that's an advantage for companies like Glovo. Us, we're one of the players, and where we operate, I think we want to lead that. But I think it's going to be a huge opportunity for companies like Glovo to take advantage of that segment of e-commerce and really be the #1 partner for retailers.
Yeah, also going back to the previous question, I think what we're going to see next 10 years is related to quick commerce. We're going to see so many new technologies being adopted by us or by customers in terms of how they order and where they order, via voice, via the app, via who knows what. And I think there's also going to be a lot of automation of how things are delivered now. Automations in the stores of how we pick things, automation of course, robotization of the delivery side. And all of that is really exciting because it makes the entire service more efficient. No? And the more efficient the service is, the more we can deliver at a lower cost for the customer and make the service better. No?
If this video has done a few rounds. It's important to have fun during the ride. I think it's super important to have fun. It's a mixture of passion and enjoying what you do, which I've been very lucky. The last 20, 25 years being in tech, I've pretty much enjoyed all my rides. And I think it's very important also to work with people that you enjoy working with. You can't always choose that. And in my case, the further on in your career, you can choose who you work with a little bit easier. In the beginning, I couldn't. And you work with anyone you can. And I think that's fine. But you've got to do things you're passionate about. And I advise anyone to do that, not just in a startup. I think you're going to do that much better if you love what you're doing. I'd focus more on passion and enjoyment than economic benefit or anything. The second might well come just because you're very good at what you do. Work hard, play hard, in that order.
Yeah, I fully agree. I think the fact of building a service that so many people use makes it easier to make it more fun. I feel we're really lucky that the service is literally used. It's also an extra pressure, right? Because everybody has an opinion or something to say or something to criticize. But I think it makes the ride a lot more fun. Muy bien. Happy birthday.